So if we want to add a brand new piece of functionality to this app, which is barcode scanner, I'm going to stake out a little part right here in the JavaScript to write a little bit of notes to talk about the concept, and then we'll apply the concept. So we'll say barcode feature. Need to add a barcode plugin. So built in are a variety of features that we can do with plain old JavaScript or jQuery or jQuery Mobile. Those are the things we've got, or Pouch, I suppose. But we don't have any feature to access the camera of the device and then read a barcode and do something with it. So that's a plugin. We need to add a barcode plugin via Cordova. So Cordova is the optimal word here. Cordova is that library, is that software that lets us access all of these advanced features that go beyond a website. Because everything we've done right now, it's mostly like website stuff to some degree. But when we want to tap into the vibration or the sound or the camera, that's a little beyond the website. That's when we have to get a plugin where we write some JavaScript to interact with the features of the device. So we need a barcode plugin. Add user interactivity features. And that's simply a fancy way of saying, well, then we need to add a button to our app when we're in our app about to save a comic. Well, we need to add the ability to scan the barcode. Right now, our app has those fields and then save. But in here, we also need to build in maybe just a simple button, scan barcode. That's all we'll really need. We'll have a button, scan barcode. We will then take a little segue to scan a barcode. That barcode data, we've got a little placeholder where the barcode data will be, and then ultimately save. Well, add user interactivity features, add the new barcode data to Pouch via the JSON object. When we're doing mydb.put, my comic, that my comic object is made of title field, number field, year field, publisher field, and now we're going to need barcode field. So we're adding a new field to a particular entry into the database. And then, of course, then display the data. Or do something with it. Then do something with the data. Not just display it, but we can do stuff with it. Okay, so the first one, we need a barcode plugin. There's the great thing about creating apps via our route, via Cordova, is that there are many talented developers out there that create code for various purposes. I have this task. Someone already possibly had that idea, so they put it out there. Here's code that can do that. So this is one of many possible answers. So let's do this. Let's go to the web browser and let's go search for Cordova barcode scanner. Any of these results should be the right one. So just any search, Cordova barcode scanner. This is the standard syntax that I need to do something. Ultimately, I've got the Cordova library. I've got the features of Cordova, and specifically, I need a barcode scanner, or I need a Bluetooth connector, or I need joystick adapter, or whatever. And we get many results, and the one is this first result should be the right one. according to my notes, there is GitHub dash PhoneGap plugin dash barcode scanner. And I said earlier that Cordova is basically synonymous with PhoneGap. If you ever see any tutorials that say how to do something in PhoneGap, it's the same thing as Cordova, which is what we have. So even though I search for Cordova, my top result is PhoneGap, it's the same thing. Short answer. It's all open source. It's just that Cordova is like the full open source version, and then PhoneGap is like Adobe's version, and then like different publishers have their own version, but it's all Cordova ultimately. So on that first result there, it should be the one of GitHub. If it's anything else, it may not be the exact thing that I want. So make sure you've got this one from GitHub. If you click on that one, scrolling down, there's the usual GitHub, like the raw files and stuff, and then scrolling down, how does it work? Well, we need to add a this plugin to our project. We'll do that in a moment, and it comes by the name of this particular entry into the repository of all plugins. I'm going to use that in a moment to install it. And then just reading, it works on all of these platforms. It has the ability to read these types of barcodes. There's many more barcodes than you might have thought existed. We have, where you're sitting on your tower, on your computer's tower, there's a yellow label. There's a barcode that we can use as an example. Ultimately, what a barcode is just a scannable representation of data. If you look right below that yellow label, there's numbers. I see a number here, 100344988. Those vertical bars represent that number. That number then has some meaning in our inventory system. If you have barcodes elsewhere, like over here on this product, this is another sort of, bars. And right below it, it's the numbers, 019200, whatever. And then this number has a meaning in the database of Lysol, and it's this product, or the database of Walmart, and it's this product. So a barcode just has data. But what is the meaning or purpose of the data? It comes from some other, database of what these numbers are. So if you notice here, we're able to scan different types of barcodes, like a QR code. You can test this later on here. QR code. I can load up a QR code in an image here and then just scan that for testing as well. Who knows what data it's going to give me, though. And over here, there's just a bunch of kind of data. So our barcode scanner will be able to read this data. What we do with it still is up to us, and we'll see what we'll do and how it actually works. We'll see how it actually works in a moment. But in order for this to be added to our project, the installation doesn't exactly mention, do this in Visual Studio. But it says you need to add a plugin called PhoneGap-plugin-barcode scanner. So I'm going to copy that. And in Visual Studio, we have a screen where we can configure our app for all of these extra features and like the internal name of our app. Did anyone remember that? Where do we go to configure our app? All of these like basic features. We did it a while ago. Where we config XML. In Visual Studio here, we have a file, config XML. This file outside of the www folder. This file outside of the visual part for the user has the configuration of the app. So open up config XML. We get this nice pretty interface, which now should start to make a little sense. Where do we go from here? Plugins. Where do you go from here? Custom. Core are all of the ones built into Cordova, and I don't see anything about barcode. So if you want to add a custom one that doesn't exist in the main Cordova built-in specification, we go here. We have three possibilities: plugin ID, a file that we downloaded, or a Git address. This that we just copied is the ID of the plugin in the master list of plugins. Not all plugins are part of that master list, so then I might need to download the file and then add the zip file or whatever. Or I suppose here where it says the Git address, I suppose I could get it from this right here as well. There's another way. Here's a Git address. I have multiple ways to do this, but because I copied the name of it, I'll just do it under plugin ID. You click Next. It should then connect to the repository for us to confirm it's the plugin that we expect. Let's see here, plugin ID, whatever, description. You can use the barcode scanner. Oh yeah, that's the right one. If it says something completely different, you got the wrong one. Well, you got perhaps a different one, not the wrong one, but you got a different one than the one I'm about to show. If you got like a different one, because there's other ones, there's like there could be like Microsoft -plugin -barcode scanner. There could be Microsoft's version, which gives you extra features or removes some features. You know, we could have like the Intel version of it, whatever their plugin is called with their own features. The ID is how we differentiate.
If you do the Git address, you can use version 8.11.
8.11. Oh, interesting. Okay, so on this one, I guess the Git version gives you like the most cutting-edge one, and then the one from the repository might be like the latest stable tested one. So that might be interesting for you to try 8.11 and see if there's much difference, or just do the 8.10 to, because I haven't tested the like 8.11. I'm just going to go with this one. Okay, I'm going to click Add. That'll connect back to the Cordova server and download and unzip and install it, and then now activate more features. It'll give us more API access. It'll give us more commands that we can incorporate into our project. If I eventually don't want this one anymore and I find another one that was better, I can go back to Installed and then uninstall the one I don't want. So we add or remove or manage plugins inside of this config XML file. When we do this later for taking regular photos, this plugin is going to use the camera, but it's not designed to take a photo. It's designed to scan the barcode. So it's not going to be the same plugin for when we take a photo. And later on, when we add social media to this, we're going to be able to tweet from our app or post to Facebook or send an email. That's going to be a separate plugin to do that as well. We've added a new plugin. Okay, so back to the documentation, how this works. In general, here's a full example. We now have the JavaScript code Cordova.plugins.barcodescanner.scan. We have a brand new scan method that doesn't exist in regular JavaScript or jQuery or jQuery Mobile. It exists because we've got this plugin. And the syntax of this is kind of backwards from Pouch, where Pouch had mydb.put option, comma, failure success. This has success, failure, options. So it's backwards. And here they're calling it result. Oh no, ours is called success. Tragic. No, this is whatever we want to call it. Kitty cat, whatever. But in their example, they're calling their success object result. And they're calling their failure object error. So if we properly scanned the barcode, they're just doing alert, window.alert, with a message. We got the barcode. Success.text, display what text is embedded in that barcode. New line. The format of the barcode is success.format. There's a format field in that JSON object, which is going to be up from the list over here. Is it an EAN8? Is it a UPCA, whatever? And then if they canceled it, it'll say true or whatever. So there's success. Comma, failure, just a pop-up. Make it say, what's your failure, so we can troubleshoot it. comma. And it's got to be in this order because this is how this plugin was designed. Success, failure, options. These are all options. There's defaults, but this is saying here, what's meaningful here? Torch on. What's a torch? What's another word for the torch of your device? Flashlight, the light. So this is true, turning on the light. Before you scan, it'll turn on your light. If you're using these devices, these don't have a flash, so it'll just ignore it. Do we want to save the scan history, true or false? Default is false. What's the text that we want to appear? When we click scan barcode, our screen's going to change a little bit, and we can have it say a message on the screen. The message, the prompt is, place a barcode inside the scan area. And then other. Do you want it to do a little animation? Do you want it to make a beep? The orientation option only matters in Android. But notice all of this is also a little bundle of JSON data. Curly braces. Although they don't have the quotes around the field, which they should. You know, true, false, Booleans don't need the quotes, but these fields should have quotes. Where's that one button over here to edit their code? So that should have quotes. They have it over here. Formats. We will accept, our scanner will only be able to scan QR codes and PDF 417s, whatever those are. Default is that. So how we use it, you know, it's this. This is one command, .scan, one method. But it's got a bunch of options, and then it's got failure and success. So to use it in our project, we need to do a little bit of setup. Not just add the code in the JavaScript, because I noted add the plugin, check. Add the user interactivity features, we need that. Add the actual code. So in our save comic, I need to add a button, scan barcode. I have got a new button, which JavaScript needs to know about, so there needs to be an object. We've got a new button that we need to pay attention to when we click on it, event listener. Event listener happens, we need a function. In that function, ultimately then, we add our code to start the scan. So let's go to our HTML file and add a new button for when to initiate scanning of a barcode. So HTML file, index.html, you need to find your save comic, PG save comic. ID PG save comic. In our save comics. What's that? I will zoom in one moment. I'm just trying to orient myself to see if I'm in the right place. Save comic. Save comic. So we've got, okay, that's right, yeah. We've got a label. We've set ourselves up by having a label where the barcode will happen. This is a couple of things at once. We've got the barcode scanner is going to retrieve the data, and so what I had this for was just for the example to see the data that was retrieved. So there's going to be an input field of type number placeholder with a name in barcode. So we've got these input fields: in publisher, in notes, in year, in barcode. This needs an ID so that we can work with it in the JavaScript. In barcode. And then now this label is associated with that, so this label is being used for in barcode. So for the moment, this is a bit temporary to see the data. We're going to see it in the console, but we're also going to see it on screen. We can easily hide this and so forth. But the purpose of this field is, well, we're going to scan a barcode. When the person added publisher, they typed the publisher. There was a field that was going to be read and stored in the database. We're about to scan a barcode. It's data. I want that to be in a field so I can read it and store it in the database. So that's what this is happening. This is what this is doing. There's going to be a field where the barcode will be stored to put it in the database. To populate that field is to press the button that is, scan barcode. So let's add a button before the picture. Let's do a little something here. Let's put in first, however, a horizontal ruler to kind of separate this stuff on screen. We're going to have the stuff that we had before: publisher, notes, a little line, barcode, another line, picture. And then a button, input, type, generic button, the value of scan barcode, the message on the button, we'll say scan the barcode. It's a generic button. How will JavaScript be able to know that this button exists? ID, btn barcode. Okay, so this is the user-facing part of this. This is what the user can interact with. There's a brand new button to start the barcode stuff. We added the plugin. We added the button that the user will click on. We need to add our JavaScript. We need to make an object of this button. Then we need to make an event listener to listen for the moment we click on the button. Then we need to make a function that starts to run when we click that button. So, did you get all of this? We have a horizontal line, a label for, a brand new field, and a brand new button, and one more line. The input field has an ID and a name that matches the for label, and then the button has an ID. Okay, I want to jump back to the JavaScript. I'm going to go to where all of my variables are at the top. var $L btn barcode is equal to jQuery selector # btn barcode to make a JavaScript object of that HTML node. So in the JavaScript, near the beginning. Variable for the barcode scanner. var $L btn barcode is equal to jQuery selector #. Don't forget the #. It's an ID. And now we've got a JavaScript object representing the HTML button. We've done that before. Okay, we've got a button to be able to click on. We need an event listener. Now, I'm going to write it below, but I'm just going to write it right here, and then cut it and paste it down there because I don't want to scroll down yet. LBTN barcode on click. Run a function called fn barcode. I'm going to move that in a moment to the bottom, but I'm going to write it right now to keep it in one screen. We've done that before. We've created an object, then with an event listener for interactivity. We don't need to pass any data into the function. The function is going to result in data, so we don't need to do that whole anonymous function to pass something into it. We don't need to do prevent default. There is no default here. It's a plain old button. There's no refresh that will happen. Okay, so this was temporarily here. I'm going to put it where I've got all my other event listeners at the end. Control end. Now it's in the place where everything else is for consistency. LBTN barcode on the event of click. Run the function barcode. Okay, so then right up here we're going to define that function. Function to scan a barcode. The usual console output to confirm at least this is running. Now, just for completeness, I'm going to put into my code here, this is optional, I'm putting in the link to the particular barcode plugin that I used for this. Because there could be more than one barcode plugin. I might lose track of it later on when I want to use this plugin for an app later. If I search it and I find, again, 10,000 results, which one was it? I'm just putting into my code as a comment the link to the particular plugin. That was back on the web browser when we did that search and we got this result from GitHub. Oh, sorry, yes, I'm grabbing the one of the Git, not the actual. Yeah, it's not the .git. It's just the plugin. It's just the link to the website.
Where'd you put the one you cut and you pasted somewhere?
I pasted it as the last one after all of these event listeners because it was my latest event listener. Let's see if I can see it on the same screen. Yeah, there it is right there. It's just the last one after our edit comment. It's the last event listener. Okay, well, this works with Cordova. Dot plugins, plural, plugins, plural, plugins, plural, barcode, scanner with a capital S, dot scan, so ultimately we have this object plus a method. Now that we've added that plugin to the config XML, we can scan. If we don't have that in config XML, you'll get an error. It'll say .scan is undefined if we don't have this plugin in the config XML. Okay, we saw that this had several items inside of it, so I'm breaking it apart. And quick note, and .scan. We had success, we had failure, we had options. Just to be consistent with what we've learned before, we'll do it in that same order. It has to be in this order, but I'm going to fill it out as options first down here. So we'll kind of work a little backwards. There's a lot of options we can add here, and here's a few of them. Oh, I'm also going to break apart that curly brace right there, because it's going to be multiple lines of JSON data. Prompt. The message that I want to appear on screen for the user, place bar, and this can be anything we want, place barcode in scan area. So we can't visualize it just yet, but if I then test it on a device, my little scanner screen appears and there's a message that's going to be there. Place barcode in scan area. There's going to be a certain area of the screen that is the valid area where you can then scan the barcode. Comma, because there's another field here. I'm going to go with result, display, capital D, duration, capital D. So every second word is capitalized. Oh, this is a number, 2000 milliseconds. After we scan, before it goes back to our regular app, for 2 seconds, show what we just scanned. Result, display duration. For 2 seconds, display what we just scanned before going back to our app. Another one, orientation, landscape. They're going to click the scan button, and then they're going to turn their device sideways, because most barcodes are wide. So going landscape will show you, your wide screen here when you do your scan. And one more, comma. Disable success beep. False. I do want it to beep after it successfully scans the barcode. The default is true. So anything that I don't change, there is a default. And so here I'm specifically saying I want it to beep after we scan, just so that I get some audio feedback that it found a barcode, that we scanned the barcode. I'm going to see it for 2 seconds. I'm going to give this little message, and my scanner window will be landscape. These are the options. And it's in JSON format, opening and closing curly braces, one field, comma, 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 until the final one. No final comma there. This is a number, so it's no quotes. This is a Boolean, so no quotes, but these others are strings, so quotes. Okay, we'll do failure. Failure is a function, an anonymous function. So we have the options, and then a function for failure. There's a comma right here. Success, comma, failure, comma, options, the end. So, options, failure, success. Keeping it very simple here. We'll just do an alert pop-up that says there was some failure. I'm going to break this. I'm going to break these curly braces to the next line. Window.alert. Error. And then whatever failure message. For success, we also have a function. So this is a little different than Pouch, where we had one function and we had failure, comma, success. That's just the way Pouch was made. The way this plugin was made, we have to have the success in its own anonymous function and the failure in its own anonymous function. It's just the way it was made. So forget that comma. Success result, comma, failure result, comma. Options, no final comma. You can note that if you want, no final comma. If we put a comma, that means it's expecting another parameter, which there isn't, so that'll cause a failure. In the success, we'll break that apart. Console log, type of barcode, success.format. We just saw that a moment ago in the documentation. There were various fields that it automatically gives us to work with. One of them is format. If we successfully scan the barcode, there is a format. The data in the barcode is, based on what we've done so far, what do you think that is? Text. It's in the documentation, yes, but it's success.text. So the doc says the actual data is a field called text. In the documentation, theirs was called result. They're using here result. So they had result.format, result.text. And then when they had the failure, they had error. Error, window alert error. We're calling it failure to be consistent with what we've done with Pouch, which has been failure and success. Okay, well, this is just kind of showing us what it is, how we use it. We have that input field as a placeholder to store the data. because then when we save it to the database, we want to read all the fields, bundle them together, put it in the database. So we have the input field, which we called in barcode. We have the method of reading or writing values in a field through jQuery. Anyone remember that? How do we read or write values in jQuery? .val. Yep. .val. Read or write a value. The .put was to save into the database. And the .val is to read data from this field. I want to write data into the field. So what else do I need to put in this val? What are we writing into the data, into the field? Text. Success.text, yes. Up here we're just showing it in the console. This is the text, this is the data that we got from the barcode. Okay, well what do we do with it? Temporarily we're putting it into, we're setting the value of that input field so that on the next step we can retrieve it and bundle it with the rest of the data. So this is our barcode function. It still does its own thing. Its purpose is to initiate the camera, set up the system to read the data, and then the data gets read and it's just floating there until you do something with it, which is to put it into a field. We still then have that save comic, which now has to pay attention to a brand new field. Save comic was paying attention to title, year, publisher, blah, blah, blah. Now we have barcode field. So, I'll get back to this in a moment. We need to go back over to our function that was saving the data. It was either save comic or prep comic or something. We have save comic, one of our first functions. Say sign up, log in, log out, get first word, prep comic. It was prep comic. Back on 284 or so. Function to gather comic data and prep it, which then that gets passed into the other function that was actually storing it. Save comic. So prep comic. Get the data in the form. And now we've got a new field, don't we? So in addition to having the title, the number, the year, the publisher, the notes, now we have barcode. Well, we're going to add one more variable. So at the end of this line, we're adding one more. Make sure you change that to a comma, because it's one more. The value of the input field barcode is assigned the jQuery search for an element with an ID of in barcode. Give me the value, end of statement. So now we've gone back to our function that we made a while ago that was about reading the fields. We have one more field. In theory, if our other code worked, we've populated this field with the scan of our data, and we've put it into that field, and now we're reading that data. So now it's in a variable in local scope. Further down in our code, that's all the stuff about the name of the comic, etc., etc., etc. Here we go. Bundle all the data together. The title, the number, the year, the publisher, the notes. Comma, new field. What should we call the field that stores the barcode? trick question. We're going to call it kitty cat. No, let's call it barcode. Let's make it make sense. The value of the input field of the barcode, no final comma. This then gets bundled together, gets returned to any other function that calls it. We don't need to do anything else in the rest of our save algorithm, because the next part of it is take the bundled data and store it. Here's our bundled data. One more entry comes from one more field. For the moment, I think we'll get it up to this point. We're not going to be able to display it just yet, but I want to pause here because we've done a lot. When we come back next time, we'll continue it, but we can test it so far a little bit here. Let me test mine. This is now that if we start to do it in the simulator, it's very anticlimactic, because what happens in the simulator is we have a brand new button and a brand new field. If I do scan barcode, nothing seems to happen here. If, however, you go back to Visual Studio, under this simulator tab, we have a pop-up here that it's attempting to pretend like it's kind of like a scanner. There's no handler for this. We're trying to scan. Please enter a return value to simulate.
How do you go there?
If you go back to Visual Studio, after you press the button to scan and you go back to Visual Studio, you go to the tab of Cordova Simulator.
You have to be there first.
You have to run the project in Visual Studio, yes, and then you have to go back to Visual Studio Plugin Simulator. Here it expects success, failure, but it expects the data as quote text quote whatever quote format a barcode. Again, it's better to test this, and I'm going to test this on a real device in a moment. It's better to test it on a real device, but I can vaguely fake it here in that Visual Studio says some action seems to be happening and some data seems to be requested. Well, there's text and format data and either a success or failure. We'll check in a moment. I'm going to set that as a success. Checking out here, barcode is running. Type of barcode was whatever I wrote. The data of the barcode was whatever I wrote. If I go back to the web browser and look at my application, when I save a brand new comic, I have a brand new comic to save with barcode data. That was the barcode data. When I save that, comic saved. When I refresh that, I have a brand new entry into my database with a brand new barcode field with the data that I typed in Visual Studio. But the more impressive way to do this is on a real device. I'm going to run it on a real device. I don't think my cable will reach, but then, oh, I can do this. But then I'm going to go through the process on a real device, click the scan button. My screen will change to have a little like scanner window, I think with a little laser that moves. And then when I put it on a real barcode, it will do the part that I saw here in Visual Studio, but like for real. It'll read the data. And then the first build is always a little slow just because I've added new code. So ultimately when this happens, I've got a barcode here that's 0192. That's what it starts with, 0192. When this starts up, I'll scan it and we'll be able to see in the database viewer, there should be a new barcode entry 0192. Okay, I guess while that loads up, let me go back to my code. Here's the last code that I had. I was adding a new barcode entry into temp comic inside of prep comic. Before that, at the beginning of the function, I created a new variable, val in barcode, that comes from getting the value of that input field. Before that, I created a new function at the end. Created a new function here, barcode, where it was ultimately Cordova.plugins with an S, barcode scanner, capital S. .scan that had a function for success, comma, a function for failure, comma, my options, no final comma, the end of my .scan, the end of my function. If I successfully scanned the barcode, it put it into this barcode field in barcode, where then later I can read it again to store it in my bundle of data, of JSON data. This is still building. Exactly, that's why we're going to stop here. As long as you were able to scan the barcode and see the proper feedback and see in your database viewer that you've saved, good. And you can get it to display, which based on what we've done so far, you should be able to, but we will next time. Confirm it online. Was anyone able to confirm it on a real device? So it worked on yours? So it did scan?
It's kind of funky how it works, because when I scan it, it's like real blurry, and I don't think it's doing it. And then I did it like 3 times, and I realized it did it.
Well, it's blurry because we had that delay of 2 milliseconds. 2000. So when you scan it, but then you move your hand, you know, it showed your scan for 2 seconds, but you're still moving the photo viewer, so it looks blurry.
But it's pretty instantaneous, right? I mean,
Yeah.
as soon as it sees it, it's got it.
Usually, yes. Okay, so here we go. Load it up on mine. So I'm going to go to save. I've got the brand new barcode, scan barcode button. Press that. It changes over to the photo scanner in landscape. I have the message down here, place barcode in scan area. There's a little red laser right here. I put it on a barcode that it finds right there. And it also depends on the quality of your photo and if your hand is shaking.
Yeah, that's doing a lot better than mine.
There you go. You heard the beep. There's the pause for 2 seconds. And then there was the beep, there was the pause for 2 seconds. It came back to my app right here. I had said here that this is 01290. Sasha, can you confirm here? 01920 right there? Yep, confirmed. So, okay, it scanned the barcode. I click the save after I fill in the other fields. 1, 2, 3, number 1, year 1996. Okay, then I save. So comic saved. Then I can test it over on the web browser. Remember, we can open up the more tools, remote devices. The device will appear here. Device. Inspect the device. This device has also application. See, it's still on screen. I haven't closed it yet with the comic saved, and it still says comic saved. And I go to application. Application IndexedDB. I'm logged in with user V. By sequence, I've saved 2 things so far. I just saved 1, 2, 3, barcode 019200. So that was the barcode right here. I tapped into the device feature. I integrated a brand new field to the app, stored it, other stuff to do with it. We'll do that next time. But I'm showing here that it does work. Yes.
I put it in and I saved it, but it didn't actually, when I go view it, the individual comment, it's not showing up.
It's not showing there. That's the part that we don't quite have time for just at the moment. To then show it when I go to view comic, we haven't programmed that part. Remember, stuff is not automatic unless we do it.
Okay, well, but it'll be in the database. We can go in and look at it.
Yeah, just like I did here. I went into the database. If you go look to your database, it should be there. And then to retrieve it, we'll do that next time. But if that worked, great. If not, okay, I'm going to put my code into the folder. We'll do a little lab time. Went a little later than usual. But we'll do a little lab time to make sure this works. When we come back next time, we'll make this finish working. We'll then deal with the graphic aspects that I mentioned. And then we'll keep going. So